First-time homebuyers and buyers in general are having a real impact on the Abbotsford real estate market, just not in the way most people expected. Sales are slowing, home prices are softening, and new listings are building up. But here's the thing, if you're a prepared buyer, this market shift could work in your favor. At the same time, many first-time homebuyers are feeling like the system wasn't built for them. With all the negativity around them surrounding tariffs, interest rates, and uncertainty with the economy, it's hard to know when or how to take the next step. But with the right guidance and a clear plan, this could be one of the best opportunities to enter the Abbotsford real estate market. Let's dive in. Welcome to my channel. My name is Gary Dhindsa and I help a lot of first-time home buyers enter the Abbotsford real estate market. If you find today's video valuable, my only ask is that you hit the like button and subscribe button. Let's talk about what's actually happening in our Abbotsford real estate market for all three property types and what it means for you. Let's start with the numbers and statistics so you know where things exactly stand. In April, all three property types either represented a balanced market or a buyer's market. Let's start with the East Abbotsford detached market. In April, the East Abbotsford detached market represented a balanced market at 15.8%. Days on market are 11 and months of inventory is at 5.5. There were 31 sales that occurred in March and 24 in April. And homes are selling about 97% close to their original list price. That means home buyers have an opportunity to negotiate around 3% off the list price. One of the things that stood out most to me about East Abbotsford is that they actually recorded 25 sales in comparison to 7 in West Abbotsford. I've been talking about this a lot in past videos that East Abbotsford remains a desirable area for all home buyers, whether they're looking to buy a townhome or detached home. And this area for most of last year had represented a strong seller's market. Next, let's talk about the West Abbotsford detached market. The West Abbotsford detached market represented a buyer's market at 4.4%. Average days on market are 25 and months of inventory right now is sitting at 9 months. There were 9 sales that occurred in March and the number of sales in April were at 7. The number of active listings in West Abbotsford right now are 136. The overall Abbotsford detached market is representing a balanced market and the number of active listings right now are at 536. If you're thinking about selling your home this year, there's a couple of things that you need to be mindful and know. Click the video above where I give you a complete seller's checklist of the things that you need to know before you list your home. Another thing with the Abbey detached market is there's a lot of listings that are either overpriced or a lot of them are tenanted. And what I've been talking about in past videos right now are tenanted properties remain attractive just because buyers don't want to wait 3 to 4 months before getting keys for their new home. And the other thing is usually tenanted properties don't show well, cluttered, it's hard getting a showing for access, and the list goes on. Next, let's talk about the Abbey townhome market. The Abbotsford townhome market also represented a buyer's market at 9.7%. Days on market were 16 and months of inventory right now is around 9 months. There were 10 townhome sales in March, down to 7 in April. The Abbotsford condo market represented a balanced market at 11.2%. Days on market is 18 and months of inventory right now sits at around 6 months. There were 21 condo sales in April, up from 17 in March. The average sale price for a 2-bed, 2-bath condo here in Abbotsford is around $490,000. And one thing that I can tell you folks right now, the reason why sales might have been down in April was we had elections. A lot of first-time home buyers and buyers in general were focused on what was going to happen with their election results and what housing policies were going to come into effect. And one thing to note historically, around election times, home sales do slow down. But what these stats mean for you is if you are a first-time home buyer looking to enter the market, this market might be the perfect opportunity for you. You're facing less competition, more inventory to choose from, and you have more time for due diligence. If you have questions about the home buying process, feel free to download my first-time home buyer's guide by clicking the second link in the description below. Next, let's talk about interest rates and buyer confidence. We had a recent Bank of Canada announcement mid-April, and at this time, the Bank of Canada Governor led by Tiff McCallum, decided to hold interest rates where they were. And one of the main messages out of their announcement was that Bank of Canada is really worried about with our trading problem with the US. And they were worried about if tariffs continued over the long term, it could cause an increase in inflation. So at this announcement, other things that they noted was the Canadian economy is slowing. That's not a surprise because we are already in a recession. Tariffs and global uncertainties are making buyers and business owners in general more cautious. Their message was stay patient, and they gave two possible scenarios about how tariffs could play. The first one was if tariffs ease, inflation should fall and the economy could stabilize later this year. In the second scenario, they talked about if tariffs worsen, we could see a recession, higher costs, and slower home sales. Let me know your thoughts about whether Bank of Canada made the right decision with their interest rates below. Next, let's talk about what's driving buyer motivation. Right now, there's two types of buyers. There's active buyers and cautious buyers. Active buyers are the ones that I classify as they're pre-approved, financially secured. They're ready to take advantage of the market conditions for all three property types. They know there is a lot of noise and uncertainty right now, but at the same time, they realize that the uncertainty also creates opportunities. The second group is cautious buyers. These are buyers that have been looking for a couple of months, but they're waiting to see what's going to happen with tariffs or elections and the world uncertainty. One thing that I can tell you folks is it seems like we're getting more certainty around, at least with our election results. We know Mark Carney is going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada for the next 4 years. And another thing related to tariffs is we recently saw the UK and the US reach a trade agreement. The next day, the US ambassador said, we value our relationship with Canada and the Canadian officials should look at this type of trade deal for a future agreement between Canada and the US. Not only that, we also had Carney meet with Trump in Washington. That meeting went positive. And also our government, our federal government and provincial government are looking at ways of increasing trade between provinces. When a new trade agreement is reached with the US, only time will tell. I also had an opportunity to speak with a retired politician here last week. And I did ask them that, hey, how could the Canada and the US trade scenario play out? And one thing he mentioned was that US has made it very clear they're not interested in our cars and deals. He talked about what we have to offer in a trade bigger. He talked about what are some key things that the US is looking for. One key example is key minerals. So how things play out, only time will tell. And if you're not sure about where you fall as an active buyer or a cautious buyer, the key thing to remember is you need a plan and a clear on why you're buying. One thing that you can do is pull out a piece of paper and write out, why are you buying? I'm buying a home because I'm tired of renting. I am buying a home because we need more living space. Next, let's talk about what first-time home buyers need to know. As a first-time home buyer, one of the biggest misconceptions that they have is, I'll never have enough money for a down payment. And one thing to keep in mind, folks, is as a first-time home buyer, you don't need 20% down. You can get into your first home with the insured mortgage with the down payment of 5 or 10% of the purchase price. So let's just talk about if you're looking at a 2-bed, 2-bath condo here in Abbotsford. Let's just say the sale price is $500 and you're doing a down payment of 10%. The down payment that you would need at 10% would be $50,000, and at 5% it would be $20,000. The other thing is you don't know what you qualify for until you meet with the mortgage specialist. Once you sit down with the mortgage specialist, they'll be able to verify your income, your total debt service ratio, the down payment, and what type of home you qualify for. They'll be able to tell you exactly that either you qualify for a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom condo based on the pre-approval. And once the pre-approval is in place, you have a valid pre-approval that's active from anywhere between 90 to 120 days. I always joke with my first-time home buyers that, hey, once you're pre-approved, you're done 50% of the buying journey. And other things that you can factor in at this meeting are what kind of interest rates you're going to be looking at, but you can also ask the mortgage specialist to pull up potential mortgage payments on active listings that are sitting on the market. So you can look at, hey, if I'm buying this condo here in Central Abbotsford for $500K, my monthly mortgage payment would be this amount. And you can factor in things like strata fees, property insurance, property tax, and the list goes on. Next, let's talk about market sentiment and mental health. Right now, I'm noticing there's a lot of negativity around us. A lot of people are spending a lot of time on social media and online, and there's a lot of garbage out there right now. This becomes very relevant when you go to things like YouTube channels on real estate where people are leaving negative comments about housing is overpriced, we'll never be able to afford a house, or we get caught up with what's happening around us with all the uncertainty, geopolitical stuff, and the tariff stuff. My advice to you is that if you want to get ahead in life is get off social media. Limit the amount of time that you spend on your phone, internet, surfing things that are not relevant. One of the key things that you should be focused on is improving your craft, getting better in your personal and professional life, and getting ahead. Key other things that you want to learn is learn financial literacy skills, where you learn how money works and how you can get your money working for you. These are things that I had to learn through my mentors, reading books, but now we have access to so much quality information, folks, that it should be really simple. It doesn't matter what government is in charge, whether it's the Liberals, Conservatives, or the NDP. No one's going to help you buy your first home except you. And one of the ways that you can get off your phone is spending more time with loved ones, people in your community, and connecting with nature outdoors. Do you still have questions about what areas in Abbotsford might be right for you and your loved ones? Click the video on the side because I'm going to break down the top 3 areas that you could live in and call home. My name is Gary Dhindsa, and I'll see you next week.